Good afternoon, everybody. We're back at it again with a very special guest in Cam Farrow. Cam was an academic All-American, all Division III wrestling All-American, and so on and so forth. So, Cam, first things first, thanks for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you, Tommy. It's awesome being here.
Yeah. So, going back to high school a little bit, describe to me what your recruiting process was like, and like what other schools were you considering, and how did you ultimately like decide to come to York? Ultimately.
Uh, so to be honest, I kind of was getting recruited for football a lot. I did some visits at Geneva College over near Pittsburgh, and I was looking at Millersville for football. But those colleges just weren't my fit. And I had an engineering day at York, and I really loved it. Loved how everything was hands on there for engineering. So I was kind of tired of touring school, so I just said I would go there. And I kind of just asked Dwayne Bashers if I could join the team. So there wasn't really that much recruiting process and me into wrestling into college because I didn't really have any achievements up to that point. That was before I won states in Maryland. So yeah, there wasn't really much recruiting for me, but I'm happy with my choice.
So speaking of Dwayne, talk to me about like kind of like the influence and impact that he has had on you in your career. I mean, like just knowing from living with you for 2 years, like
Yeah,
he was kind of like your guy, you know. So like talk to me about like
yeah,
some of the things he's taught you, not only on the map, but like in life too.
yeah. Dwayne was like my best friend at York. Like I have a bunch of best friends from York. He was probably my number one friend. I could. He's there all the time. At the college. So he's bored a lot. So I go in and talk to him, whatnot, about just life, football, wrestling, anything. And I mean, he really impacted my life greatly in the sport of wrestling and just being a successful person in general. I would when I first came to York, I didn't really think like I was going to be a starter ever. I thought I was just going to be a backup. I even told my parents that I was just going to wrestle for 2 years, just stay in shape, then like just focus on engineering. Then came wrestle offs, and I mean I didn't work hard to that point, and I lost to Hassan Alik, Hassan by 1 point in like the last 5 seconds, and he was a national qualifier the year before. So that kind of like brought to me that like, hey, I can hang with these guys. Like I belong here. And ever since then, starting my freshman year, I would meet with Dwayne at 8 a.m., do a lift or wrestle with him or join him for when he coached speed, agility, quickness for all the athletes. So he was always there for me and he helped me out of a lot of tough times. Obviously with wrestling and doing engineering, there's mental a lot of mental toughness that you have to go through for that. But he was always there for me. He was a great friend, still is, still talk a lot. But he had a great impact on my college experience there.
Yeah, D Money, great guy, honestly. I mean, even with
Yeah,
me, like, I wasn't really like on the team as much, but like, I still tried my best to stay in contact with him and like, even like, I was texting him yesterday about, when I uploaded the other interview that I had with Nino Bonacorsi, and I was like
right.
talking to him about it, and like he was like telling me, and like just going back and forth, like D Money, like he is a great friend and a great like role model for all of us. The great thing about
Right. Yeah.
you know um like the whole saying like like I'll never ask like my athletes to do things that I've never done or do stuff with like or like he'll do the workouts with us too, you know what I mean? Like so that was
Yeah.
well, I mean, that. I mean, he wrestled with you every single day. So
Yeah. Now I thought that was such a big thing. I feel like just having like a coach there that would actually go through the like having a head coach going through the entire wrestling practice, doing workouts, doing the lifts, doing everything, just made everything more like important to do. Like this guy's a two-time national champion. He's still able to do all this stuff. He's still doing it. Like that makes it important. Like this is what can make me go to the next level. So it was always great seeing him. And he's like, what, 39, 40 years old, and he's
Yeah,
still
wife,
beating
three
everybody up
kids,
in the
wife,
wrestling
three
room.
kids, every excuse to like
Yeah.
off, like, oh, I got a mortgage to pay for,
Yeah.
or I got a 2-year-old
Hmm.
son or a 1.5-year-old son, whatever.
Yeah.
But
He really does care for all of his guys. And um, kind of what I learned later on after my freshman year is that when everybody's recruited here, whenever you're a freshman wrestler, Dwayne has this belief that he's going to make you an All-American. He's going to make you compete at the highest of your level. And I think that's just awesome from him. And he's always there for us. And it's awesome. He's a great coach.
yeah, so and you alluded to this earlier, and this is something that I wanted to bring up. You brought up like your freshman year. You brought up some of the dark times. Obviously, you got hurt. So
Yeah.
so like you said, your freshman year you were back up. Sophomore year, you missed the postseason because you broke your leg like the week of regionals, and then your
Mm-hmm.
junior year, was canceled because of COVID. So did you have
Mm-hmm.
like a chip on your shoulder last year? Coming in like to the season where it's like like you had like something to prove.
Yeah, and definitely, I definitely felt like I had something to prove. I mean, during the COVID year, don't tell Paul Sakia that day, but we were wrestling at some tournaments, and I got to wrestle at that SEPA tournament, and I wrestled the starter from Lock Haven, and I beat him, and that kind of like made me like realize, hey, like I'm good, like because before then, like I didn't really do anything in college wrestling because, like you said, I broke my leg the week before regionals. But yeah, I mean, yeah, like I felt like I had something to prove, but kind of like last year, like I just kind of like it felt like I didn't really have to prove that much, honestly. Like I didn't have to. I just wanted to prove everyone wrong, is what I felt like. I mean, like I had no in the rankings or whatnot. I barely pay attention to that stuff, but like I did not like. I just wanted to prove them wrong. Like, hey, you're ranked like 16 in the country right now. I'm like, all right, whatever. Keep me on keep me low. I don't care. Like, let me just go prove some people wrong. But yeah, like I think that was the best for me. I learned a lot from that, and just like getting my body healthy after that, because before then I was kind of eating crappy, not doing dieting correctly. But after that, like I dialed all that stuff in, trying to make sure that all my muscles and everything was good, so like I wouldn't have an injury like that again. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really feel like I was weighted down. I felt relaxed and I could just wrestle and just have fun and just prove people wrong, which I love doing.
Yeah, so and another thing too that I kind of want to talk about that I just thought of right on the spot. So like you said, you haven't really experienced any of that, like like the national championships. Like you said, obviously like you weren't the guy for the first 3 years, and then your senior year, you wrestled at a tournament that you
Yeah.
never wrestled in before. And not only is it a tournament that you never wrestled in before, there was just such high stakes. Talk to me about like the environment and the experience that you've had there.
Uh-oh.
Did I lose you?
Tom, you cut out a little bit.
Can you hear me?
You cut out a little bit there. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just said, talk to me about the environment that you had, like the D3 NCAA tournament. So talk to me about that a little.
Well, that was so cool up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, right? And just it was a really cool, just fun experience. Me and the hotel was part of the arena, so like after weigh-ins, we just go up to our room and like eat, get ready. But yeah, going into that, I was scared. I mean, like you're in front of a big stage, and I had a pigtail right away. Um, and I was losing in that match because I wasn't, you know, yeah, I wasn't wrestling. I wasn't having fun. I was timid, I guess, or shy. And but in the end, like I was losing by 2 points with like 3 seconds left, and I got a reversal at the end of the match to push into overtime, and then I ended up winning that. That kind of gave me a lot of confidence that, hey, I belong here. And that's something that Dwayne was always preaching to me all week, all those 2 weeks before nationals is, hey, you belong there, you belong here. All right. And it never really clicked until I won that first match. And once I got under I got that under my belt, I felt a lot better at nationals. But it was a cool experience being there. I mean, just having your trainer, Sean Farmer, he was just awesome for me because I had a Powerade bottle, and whenever it got like 25% empty, like he would right away fill it up. Like he's like, oh, you want me to hold your stuff, or you want me to fill this bottle? Like it was just he gave me a lot great treatment when I was there, and I loved it. I very much appreciated that from him. So
So yeah, with that being said, what kind of so you took fourth last year? Kind of know what you're gonna say. I have a feeling I know what you're gonna say to this, but what kind of went into coming back for a fifth year? You know, obviously you're a mechanical engineer, like you could start your life off, you know, making a lot of money and whatever. But what kind of went into coming back for a fifth year?
coming back for a fifth year, it kind of just started during that the COVID year when it was canceled. I met with my parents at a diner, which full in my mind still is one more year of wrestling, I'm done. And they sat me down and like, Cam, I really think you should take this next year. Like you should do another year of wrestling. And I mean, they said they would help pay for it. So I was like, all right, let's do it. I mean, uh, I the love for the sport is there, and I didn't want to have any regrets for it. So, and also just placing fourth really wanted me to come back just to do better, and which I didn't do this year, but I learned a lot from it, and it was still a great experience, still worth it coming back and everything.
Yeah, and like you always hear that with guys, right? Like it's like the sense of like regret because it's like, you know, obviously, you know, like the top 1% of guys, like, you know, they never like they're the only ones that are able to compete, right? Like at the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you know, college is kind of like, you know, the ultimate like pinnacle for like, you know, 95% of guys, you know what I mean? So like
Yeah,
your point, like, you know, obviously like you don't want to, you know, look back in 20 years and be like, damn, like, you know, should have wrestled, you know, that last year, but I could have when I was still young,
yeah,
whatever. So yeah, so next thing I have up on the itinerary is like now that you are officially done, like, you know, like what are your next steps, you know, in life, you know, like what do you like plan on doing like now that since you graduated 2 weeks ago, like
mm-hmm.
touch on that a little bit.
So I'm starting out working at a job in June 19th at Collins Aerospace as a mechanical engineering there. And what they do there is they create simulators for the Army. So for planes, for U-2s, B-52s. So it's like video games for the Army, basically, if I could say it like that, which is pretty cool stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do sport wise or coaching. We'll get there when we get there, but right now, just relaxing until that date.
Yeah. And another thing that I wanted to talk to you about. So like how were you able to balance mechanical engineering, you know, like I said, you're a scholar all-American and being such a successful wrestler because it's like, yeah, you might not have accomplished your goals early on, but like
Yeah.
everyone knew like you were good, you know what I mean? So like how were you like able to, you know, maintain such like a high wrestling? Or I mean,
Yeah.
how you're able to maintain all those things?
I mean, the one great thing about college wrestling is the first day you walk in, you got 50 new brothers, you got 50 friends, and all those guys are going to help you out. All those guys are going to push you. And I would just say, like, how I succeed in college is having lots of friends, and time management is big time a part of that. I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning, go lift from 5 to 6 in the morning, get some homework done, go to classes, go practice, work on some more homework. I mean, I didn't really have much downtime to relax, um, but I did have sometimes, but it was a big time management, getting stuff done. It kind of helped me focus in on my goals of wrestling and engineering. Because if I did have downtime, I feel like it'd be some dumb stuff that I'd get a part of, and I would just would waste time or hurt me in the long run. So, I mean, I think it was good doing engineering and wrestling just because, my time was filled and I was doing smart things, studying, practicing, working out. So I think that
The structure,
going to that level, that's what helped out a lot.
yeah, like was a way for you know to hold yourself accountable because it's like,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah. So
Right.
you touched on this a little, like you might not have accomplished what you wanted this year. But can you
Mhm.
look back and just, be proud of like, how far you've come in your 5 years at York?
Yeah, totally. I am very proud about everything that I've accomplished at York. But I would have to give that all to Dwayne Bashis in general, just because I've been told by so many people, dude, you could have gone D1, you could have went to D2 or whatnot or a higher level to wrestle to compete, and you still would have done better there or as good there. I'm like, to be honest, like the only reason I am at the level that I was is because of Dwayne. He really pushed me and made me better every single day. And um, to be honest, like I always ask stupid questions to Dwayne that you would not think like a high level wrestler would ask. I first first couple times I started meeting him, it was like, what's a setup? Show me a setup. I need to know how to shoot with some guy. And then like we worked on that. And if you watch my wrestling, it is basically everything Dwayne teaches. And so I mean, if guys want to be high level wrestling at nationals, they got to take whatever their coaches are telling them. And for me, it was Dwayne, and I took everything he taught me and I try to put that straight into the mat, and that's what helped me succeed and do better at the college level.
Yeah, man. I feel like especially in wrestling, that's something you don't really, you always forget. You always, like people always want to hit these like high flyer moves and whatnot, and just
Mm-hmm.
like look cool, but like they often forget about like you were saying, like the fundamentals, like how to
The
like,
basics. Yep.
yeah, like you said, like how to, even something as small as like a setup to a penetration, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
effectively, like, take guys down. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, that's what's going to win you matches at the national tournament. So,
Right. There's no special things. If I look back at the Penn State team, if you look at Sorochi, Brooks, Nolf, Bo Nickel. I mean, Bo Nickel and Nolf, they do some crazy things, but deep down, they just do simple post to reach. They're moving their guys. They're doing the basic shots. They built their basic shots so much greater than everybody else that they're just great in their sport because of that. And I think that's a lot of that's what guys are missing now. It's nowadays they just want to be hitting those crappy throws or whatnot, those moves that like no one on earth can do. But like if you work on the basics and you become better than everybody else with the basics, you're gonna be on top of the podium at the end of the season. Like it's guaranteed.
yeah. And speaking of which, what would you say your most memorable win that you had was, and what was probably your most devastating loss that you ever had, where you're just like, oh shit, like, I could have done X, Y, and Z and whatever.
Yeah, I mean my most memorable win, it would obviously be when I won my match in blood rounds to become an All American last year. Just because like I was wrestling the fifth seed. Um, I just came off a win that I won with 2 seconds left. Took a shot late in the match, took the guy down, took it in overtime. But then the next match, I wrestled the kid from Luther, and he was looking to go upper body the entire time, punching underhooks. And my favorite thing is the dump. So I let him punch the underhook, then I hit him in the dump and pinned him. It was just that was so awesome. That feeling, there's pictures and everything, and you can see Dwayne is flexing and everything, and is so excited. So is Sean on the side, and Joe was in a slings, but he was getting pumped up. That was my most memorable win, and you know, just doing something that I would never have dreamed of doing, like becoming an All-American. That is probably my most memorable moment there. And then the loss that hurts me still today is my quarterfinals match against the Wartburg kid. I always think back about that match all the time, just because that guy went on to win nationals, and I was right there with the guy. Actually, had him in a cradle. This is the moment I think about all the time. Is I had him in cradle, but like I was like my toes were just barely in, and I was like, I don't know how I can turn them from here. And like I always think back to like maybe I should have sucked them in or whatnot and try to pin them or get some back points out of it. And that's the moment that I always think about. Just because that guy went on to win nationals, and and I just lost out from there. What is that? A quarter slide or something?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, and here's another guy that I know had a big impact on your career was, you alluded to him, Joe Sorecco, right?
yeah.
What did Coach Sorecco mean to you in your career? Since I know you guys were pretty tight. You guys obviously lived together and whatnot, but
Yeah. Yeah. Joe was like a brother to me. I mean, we fought sometimes, we butted heads, but deep down we knew we both loved each other in our way. But he was kind of one of the first people that like came up to me and was like, Cam, you're gonna be an All-American. You're gonna be a great wrestler, like in the coming years. Like you need to believe in yourself. Like having one person believe in you right away, it just motivates you to just prove them right. And that he was such a big part of wrestling for me. I mean, he was a guy that I could joke around with, but he was also a guy to just, tell me straight up that, hey, you didn't work hard today during practice. Hey, like you should have done this. But yeah, that relationship with Joe, I mean, it's going to carry on for the rest of my life because I still talk to him today. But yeah, having that coach, like having Coach Joe in my corner, I mean, I knew it meant a lot for me to have him in my corner, and I knew it meant a lot for him to be in my corner, even though I gave him a couple of heart attacks at nationals.
oh yeah.
But but yeah, he Joe's such a great guy. He's such a wrestling like he has a lot of wrestling knowledge, and he always talked to me about what I can do better, and always helped me out, and loved it. Loved every second of it.
Yeah, and the last thing I have for you today before I cut you loose is what's the biggest piece of advice that you'd give yourself coming into your freshman year? Or I guess maybe like what's the biggest piece of advice that you would give a kid coming into, his freshman year of college about like what to expect and like, like what effort you should be giving, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that always sticks in my mind about wrestling is, you go through your high school years, your freshman, sophomore year, you don't have that much confidence in yourself because you're wrestling two guys that are 2, 3, 4 years older than you. So there's not a lot of confidence in yourself. Then you come in junior, senior year, and you have tons of confidence, and then you go out there and you actually have fun. I would just say for the guys coming in next year as a freshman or even as a sophomore, have confidence in yourself, have confidence in your ability, because that stuff still goes on with college as is with high school. Your freshman, sophomore year, you don't have that much confidence in yourself, but you're still a good wrestler. You know how to wrestle. You've competed at high levels already. So I just say like have confidence in yourself. I mean, I wish I could tell myself my freshman year that, hey, you belong here. Like you should give more effort to lifting, to wrestling and everything, because later on, like I put forth a lot of effort into that, and that helped me succeed in the sport. So having confidence right away in yourself and your ability and having fun.
Yeah. Like I said, that was the last thing I got for you. So Cam,
All right.
thank you for the time. I hope to
Yep.
see you soon.
Yep. I'll see you, Tommy. Thank you.